Hey, I'm Jason Harrell.
And I'm Justin Boyd.
And let's freaking do this.
Welcome to episode number 13 of Let's Freaking Do This. My name is Justin Boyd, and once again, I'm thrilled to be joined by my good friend and musician, Jason Harrell. Jason, last week was a tough week for you. You hit with the COVID. We found out on the show last week. So, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. I had like 2 bad days. Let's see. Tuesday was actually my worst day last week. And for whatever reason, when I started feeling bad, it didn't occur to me that I actually had COVID. For whatever reason, that was just not in my brain.
First thing I thought, honestly.
And I actually played a show in downtown Round Rock that day. It was like a lunchtime thing. It was a weird thing, but we did that. And I came back. I actually went and had lunch and a beer with Russell after the thing, and I came back home. And when I got back home, I was like, I can't continue to exist. And I just laid down on the couch and wanted to die. And I slept for like 2 hours. And then we did this show.
The podcast.
We did this podcast. And actually, I think it was the next morning when I tested. Tested the next morning, and I had COVID. So, but that Tuesday was the worst. And I still felt a little crappy Wednesday. But by Friday, I was pretty much on the up, we call it the uptick. And now I'm feeling fine today. I still got kind of like congestion and stuff, but I tested negative. So I think we're calling it in the clear at this point.
Yeah.
But
you're good to go. You're back.
Good to go. Back. And don't worry. I tested negative, so you guys won't catch anything.
Right. I'm in Houston. You're in the Austin area. We have our guest who's not near either of those areas, I don't believe. So
just don't lean too close into the computer.
Right.
That's the joke I always make.
Yeah, so. 6 feet away from the computer.
Yes,
or the phone or whatever you're using. So Jason, we're back. Another podcast. So we have another guest this week. Please introduce us to our guest.
Yeah, we have Brett Patterson, all the way out there in, I guess you'd consider it West Texas, out there in Stamford. Singer-songwriter Brett Patterson. How you doing, Brett?
Good. How y'all doing? Besides just now getting rid of COVID, y'all doing good other than that?
I'm doing good. I didn't ask Justin how he's doing. How you doing, Justin?
I'm good. I mean, not great right now because the Astros are playing and they're down to their last. They got 2 outs left, I think. So it's not looking good for game 1 of their series, but it's a series, so we'll see what happens. But otherwise, I'm doing okay. And I know, Brett, you're a big baseball guy. You're a Texas Rangers fan. So,
yeah, I was going to say, like, is there a sports event happening?
Yeah, the baseball playoffs, man. Come on.
Oh, yeah. The
This time of the year.
The ball game.
It's fall. It's October. Yeah. But,
out to the ball.
There you go. Brett, you're from Stamford, Texas. And we're actually, both of us are from a small town not too far from where you're from in Cisco. I don't know if you've heard of Cisco, but it's kind of near Abilene a little bit.
Absolutely. I go through Cisco about anytime I'm going to DFW, and we're actually playing them, or I say our high school football team is playing them this week.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with
it's playing Cisco?
But they're in the same district now. So yeah, that's crazy.
Oh, geez, I didn't even know that. Yeah, I didn't know they were playing that this weekend.
That's what a crazy coincidence.
How about Eastland, right?
Yeah, Eastland, yeah.
Yeah.
Interstate 20, yeah, you're right. If you're going to DFW, you're going to go through Cisco. Just don't blink. You're going to miss it.
Been to that also countless times.
Hey, Cisco has 2 Allsups.
Cisco, Cisco is big time. There's 2 Allsups in Cisco.
That's how you know it's a big West Texas town.
Right.
Multiple Allsups.
Right.
Twice the burritos.
Yeah.
Come on now.
I think 2 stoplights and 2 Allsups, right?
Wait a minute. I'm thinking about this.
And like
Yes,
like
two
17
stoplights.
churches, right?
There are 2 stops. Yes, 17 churches and 2 stoplights and 2 Allsops.
I bet you're not even over exaggerating there.
No,
I don't think so.
No, I probably have like 3 or 4 cousins who are preachers of those churches.
Nice.
So it's obviously we're not in that area anymore. Are you still in Stamford? Are you in that area?
I am, yeah. I went to college in Weatherford for a couple of years, but I moved back home to Stamford this year.
Very cool. And you
So
mentioned
was that the movie you were talking about that separated you from your drummer?
That was, yes.
Yeah.
It's just, kind of time to have a group that's all in that Abilene area. I
Yeah.
mean, we had a lot of talented players, but it was always just hard for us to rehearse when half of us lived near Abilene, half near Weatherford.
Yeah.
It's hard to rehearse even if you live in the same town. So
Yeah. Do you play a lot in Abilene? I know I've seen a couple things where you were playing out there. One time I tried to get my brother to come out there, but I don't know, he had something going on.
yeah, I play there quite a bit. Yeah, I kind of made my start there. Picked up my first gigs there. So I've continued to go back to those spots. Yeah.
Where do you play? Like the only place I know out there is Hef's, but
Yeah, I've played at Hef's a few times. Lyda Lynn and Cattle, Betty Rose's Barbecue. I know there are a few others. Mulligan's. It's like a par 3 golf course and a bar restaurant. I used to have a residency out of a place in downtown called Sock Dogger. There's a place called Ice House, which I just got a pretty cool little hat from them. But yeah, quite a few. Anywhere I can pick up, really.
yeah.
very cool. And you mentioned college a little bit ago. You're probably our youngest guest by far. You just
So far. We should
so
also
far.
say so
Right.
far. I'm not
So
sure.
far. Yeah. So I was looking up some information about you, and you just started playing right when the pandemic hit.
Yes.
Tell us about
I did.
that. Tell us your musical origin story here.
Yeah. So, all right. So I graduated the COVID year, and I was as you can see, baseball fan here, baseball player too at the time. I mean, not a great one, but that was what I did. And so I mean that was all I played. So that was that's what you look forward to all school year. And then right in the middle of our preseason is when COVID struck, and it was like, hey, you get 2 weeks off. I was like, okay, cool, long spring break. And then it was like, hey, you're never coming to high school again. So that was when I got my first guitar for my 18th birthday, which was around Christmas time of that year of 19 going into 20. And so I was learning a few cover songs here and there when I had time. But then when COVID hit, I mean, I had all this time in the day that I didn't know what to do with. School was a joke. And so it was learning new covers, and eventually I wrote a song on my back porch, and we had a little garage band that I played bass in, and we'd meet like every Saturday probably. And then I was like, you know what, I like playing bass, but I'd rather be the one writing songs and singing and playing, rhythm guitar and whatnot. So it just kind of kept turning into that. And then we had all this free time, like I said. So I was playing at campfires and lake parties and back porches and all that stuff. And you just keep getting that experience. Then I finally played a gig for tips, and then another gig for tips, and just private party after private party. It slowed down per se, but just the restrictions for started getting more shows as my first year of college kind of rolled around. So that's kind of the synopsis on the kind of the spark of my career, I would say.
Yeah. We sort of lost you there for just a second.
Took a while for it to fill. Yeah, I'm wondering if I don't know. I have full bars here, but I never know with this Stamford Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the just part of the game with us with having a streaming show. You're gonna have some internet issues from time to time.
But I also know the feeling of being in small town West Texas and trying to get internet out there.
Yeah,
my parents.
We all
my
know
parents'
that.
house, that I think their max is like 5 megabytes or something, and they don't get anywhere near that. Like it's really hit or miss. I can't work when I go out there. I have to take the time off.
No.
So Brett, you started playing shows and you had a lot of free time because of the pandemic. And then like what, less than a year later, you already had your first album out, right? Tell us about that.
I did, yeah. I guess in that time, I wrote a lot of songs, and I didn't realize that I was writing a whole lot of them. But and then I got in the studio, and I was like, well, I have a lot to choose from here, and I kind of went the bold route. And there's the cover there. And I was like, well, let's just record all of them and spend a bunch of my graduation money, and let's be broke after, and then let's release it all at once because I don't know what I'm doing.
But you end up like from that album, you had 3 singles that you released later, correct? Or was it at the same time as? I mean, didn't you put them out some songs out as singles after the album came out, or was that before?
It was before.
Before.
It was. So my first single I actually released a week after I graduated, and then there were a couple more leading into that. Was Didn't Know in March of 21, and then there was Lost in early April of 21, and then 2 weeks later I was like, hey, let's release the full thing.
The whole thing, yeah. How did it feel to put out an album like after you just started playing like less than a year before? Or
pretty wild looking back. I mean, it wasn't the most. I mean, I'm proud of it in a sense. It was what I had at the time. It was cool. I mean, it's a bold move looking back. I'm a little bit more like in tune with kind of the strategy and what the wise thing is to do. But if there was a time for me to just kind of say, here you go, here's an album, like, I guess it was then,
Yeah, I think you're right. And also, if you've learned more than that, let's talk afterwards and you can teach me, because I don't know anything about it. but the recording quality is great. The band was this the band that you had put together, or was this like studio folks that you put in there, or what was that?
These were more studio folks that I put in there. Josh Rogers from Fort Worth, he's a big studio guy. Awesome drummer. He played drums and keys. And then I had Brendan Gilman. He plays for Chris Colston. He's another great studio guy out of Fort Worth, and he played guitar and bass. And then I had Ryan Wilcox, who played for Colton Moore. I had him play a couple tracks too. And Ryan Wilcox's stepdad was the one who was the engineer for this project.
Okay. Yeah, Justin and I were talking about it before you got on with us, and it's a very guitar centric album. Like there's a lot of like smoking blues guitar leads on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean that was all I lived for, like good guitar solos, So that was all I knew to do, I guess, at the time. I still love a good guitar solo, but I have more ideas of like cool ways to put together a song now. At the time, it was just like, all right, Let's go verse, chorus, guitar solo, and then let's do it like 3 more
Yeah.
times.
I mean that's a winning pattern for
I mean,
you
it's
know
pretty timeless.
many yeah. There's many people who blazed the trail before you doing that, and it is perfect. It's a
Worked
great
out
pattern.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
It was
there's been
the album
discussion.
of my life at the time. You know, I've moved on from that specific formula every single time
Yeah.
in my writing, and I don't want to call it composing because that feels like, you know, too much credit to give myself. But like in my writing, that's not exactly the way I write as often anymore. But yeah, it was when I was 18 years old. So
Well, your most recent single, "Unscathed," that you put out this summer. I mean, that song is definitely a different direction from what you had in that first album. I mean, you've got like an orchestration type thing, which I assume is probably not real. Like you didn't really have an orchestra in there, but it sounds great. I mean, it sounds like that's the time. Those are the times we live in, right? Like you can have that kind of sound, and it sounds like you had a freaking orchestra in there. But
yeah, that was if you're familiar with the 301 production guys, which I think you are.
yeah,
I did that. I did this project, this single with them, and we're working on a few other things. But yeah, I didn't write this song with the orchestration in mind, but it just that kind of came alive in the studio. You know, I'm thinking Ethan may have had that idea longer than he acted like he did, but you know, one of those things.
he
where,
seems like that kind of guy, right?
yeah,
It's like a plotting and behind the scenes. I'm gonna put this
no doubt.
orchestration on here, and he doesn't even know it. He hasn't even
no
written the song yet, and he does.
Who knows what he's, you know, coming up with right now with future songs. But yeah, it turned out cool, you know, and I was a little against the idea of not the orchestration idea, but the idea of putting it just you know, keys being the vessel for that. And,
Right.
I would have preferred it to be the real orchestra. But,
Right. We'll
but
get
then
ready
again,
to fork over like 20 grand or something.
exactly. And it's just a single. Is it really, you know, is it really worth it right now? I mean, I would love to be able to afford a full orchestra one day, but I wouldn't want to just hire them for the studio. I'd want to have them as my band if I'm going to do that.
Right.
So, you know,
Tour with them, yeah. Just play stadiums if you could, like, you know. Just,
I mean, even
Absolutely.
Metallica only did like a one-off show with the symphony.
Yeah, exactly. Go big or go home, you know.
There you
Go
That's-
big
pretty big there.
It's like you gotta pass out. You go to the gig, and like you gotta pass out drink tickets to like 40 people in the orchestra.
Yeah. People
Yeah.
ask you, like, where do you play? Where the Mavericks play? Like
Yeah.
sometimes maybe the Cowboys we're gonna play at Jury World. We're gonna 120,000 people are gonna watch me play.
Oh my god! So this
We're gonna set the attendance record, right? Cool.
Right.
just with the band alone.
Yeah.
Right. The single cover artwork that we're looking at here right now is really good. Tell us a little bit about this. Who did this? Whose idea was it?
Yeah, this was done by my roommate when I lived in Weatherford. His name's Michael McCarley, and he's actually a comedian, but he's a super gifted artist and graphic artist. And so I'll give you some details here on you see the water towers back there. Those are the Stamford water towers.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can see the posters on the wall. Stamford Annual Rodeo. It says 2028 because in the song there's a lyric that it's like been almost 6 years now since I stepped in this little town. So, you know, 6 years from now is 2028.
Yep.
And then I'm wearing those Vans. I always wear the classic checkerboard Vans.
Very comfortable.
I
Yeah.
have Yeah. Oh, I love them. They're terrible for my feet, but I love them. And then Rangers jersey on there and broken guitar. I like IPAs, so or not every IPA, but I like a good IPA, and so my
It's like the comic book IPA. It's like just says IPA on it.
yeah,
Well, it is very much like comic book art.
Oh
Though.
yeah, it's comic
Yeah.
book. Like this looks
It
like
is.
this is the cover for your comic, and we're gonna learn when we start reading it, like what this guy's story is. That's exactly what it looks like,
Exactly.
and that's what the song's like too, right?
Yeah, it is. I couldn't have thought of a better album cover to fit the song, and I think that's a really important thing. I'm very much a believer in going out and getting the best cover art that you possibly can. I think it's because to me, I see the cover art before I hear the song. Oftentimes, if I'm looking on Apple Music or Spotify,
Mm-hmm.
that's the first thing I see, and that's what I'm going to post. And I think it's important to match the vibe, instead of just finding a generic picture that has no
Yeah,
relation.
it's let me tell you, it's one of the things that people who aren't trying to release music regularly don't think about how difficult it is, especially in our at a very independent level where you're trying to come up with something that's not corny, that doesn't look super like low budget, doesn't look like it's and of course this one does not, but like I personally will find myself like just scrolling through freaking random pictures that I've taken, trying to trying to find something that might work.
Exactly.
But like you got to do that process for every single that you release. And I guess it's in some ways it's easier if you put an album out because you just pick one thing.
Right.
But if you're going to have singles before your album, you've got to have something for every single that you put out, and then you probably want something different for what the album actually looks like. So
No, I agree completely. I think every detail matters, and I try to be a very detail oriented person, and the way that I present myself on social media and with the cover art here, and I want the covers to match the vibe of the song. And I'm very thankful that my roommate did this because he knows me better than a lot of people, and so he knew some of these were his ideas. That's
yeah,
my minivan back there, and it's that same color. And I mean, it looks like me. All the stuff. I mean, more than half of this was his idea. And I just think it's important to just cover art is such an underrated thing.
yeah. I'm looking at your cover art for your albums and the singles that you put out.
It's really good. I mean,
Yeah, it's all top notch.
We showed a little bit ago. We showed your first album, and I don't know if I'll throw it up there again just so people can see it. But you have like you're going uphill, and there's a a sign for Fort Worth, which is probably somewhere where you've gone to play many times.
Oh yeah,
Right? Yeah.
162. Is that actually the distance between Stamford and Fort Worth?
It is. Yeah, I was wondering if y'all are going to catch that.
Yeah, because for us in Cisco, it's like what, like 120 something.
Yeah, it's 120.
Yeah.
Which is funny though, because I just looked it up. That might not be right because I looked up the distance between Cisco and Stamford. I think it's like 70 miles.
Yeah, it's like 80 miles. I looked it up a little bit ago. It's like 80 miles northwest of Cisco. Stamford is. So
yeah,
that sounds right. Yeah, I went through Cisco like 2 days ago.
So did the same guy do this artwork, or is it somebody different every time?
No, same guy. The only different one is the Didn't Know single cover, and that was done by somebody that I went to high school and church with.
Okay. I mean, that was a good one too.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And here, I'll show you
I mean, it's got a question mark with a guitar.
Yeah.
Ironic that we're talking about it because it's really a painting, and I just took a picture of it.
Yeah. Oh, that's neat.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Lined up with the computer camera because it's kind of like backwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the OG canvas there.
One of your other singles, a song called "Lost," it's also like a Maze background, so or Maze cover art. That's pretty cool. There's, I mean, like y'all are singer songwriters, but y'all are artists also, and having good cover art, having visuals is part of being a creative person. And so, like, I mean, Brett, like you're like I mentioned how young you are, but like you've already picked up on stuff, and like you already have kind of a vision that I don't think a lot of people that are maybe even twice your age might have.
Right.
So, I mean, no, seriously, like you're off to a very good start in this music career. I mean, considering like, I mean, if the pandemic doesn't happen, do you think you're playing music right now, or what do you think you're doing if that doesn't happen? If the world doesn't change?
Yeah, if you didn't go through all that.
Yeah, I've struggled a lot, like with missing. I hate that I missed that senior year. Just every bit of it, especially with the sports. But
Right, yeah.
but I wasn't gonna go play college ball anywhere. I wasn't that good. I was just kind of
Right.
good on my little team. But like, I don't know. I've talked to my mom about this, and I've had a lot of, gotten ticked off every now and then about that happening.
Yeah.
And she always reminds me of like, hey, I don't think you'd be where you are at all if that
Right.
never happened. So it was a blessing from God in disguise. I really think. I don't. And if so, even if I did start later, I think I'd be years behind, because in that amount of free time you get to pick up on so many little details and so many,
Right.
you can gain so much time becoming an artist that would be hard for you to pick up if you started with a busy schedule,
And I like, how many songs do you think you wrote in that time frame of that, that whole like period where we were all really kind of not doing much in the world?
I'd say like 15.
Yeah. I think it's funny because I wrote like 3 songs this week, like laying on my bed because I had COVID. I couldn't do anything.
Yep.
And it's like there's something about the fact that like we wouldn't. This is kind of ridiculous or whatever. Maybe too deep to have to bring in this conversation, but we wouldn't have
artists. That's never too.
Yeah, we wouldn't have art. We wouldn't, as a species, have created art of any kind if we didn't find ourselves at some points, at spans of time with a lot of leisure time.
Right.
And I say
Free
a
time.
lot.
Yeah,
like
free time.
you've got to have some kind of leisure where you're not actively trying to find your next meal or defend yourself from predators or whatever. Like you've got to have that leisure time to contemplate and think and create. And that is one thing that happened out of all of the, the pandemic and the lockdowns and all that stuff, is we all had to stop. We had to stop. And those of us who are inclined to create stuff, that's a lot of what we did.
Yep.
I mean, it was also not good for a lot of people's mental health either, but that's,
And I'm not saying it was great for mine, but what else are you going to do?
Right.
Besides get creative, do something different, do something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Everybody had to find. I'm thankful that I had, or still have, so many good friends too, because I mean, it was a pretty low and unexpected point,
Right.
And that is thrown at you. Nobody.
Yeah.
I didn't see it coming at all, even when it happened.
No.
Yeah, I don't think any of it. We all thought, like you said, like it'd be 2 weeks or maybe a month or whatever, and we'd get back to normal. And it's, that was not the case. But you did make the kind of the best out of a bad situation.
Yeah,
and that's important. Would you like to play something that maybe you wrote during that time?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't play a whole lot of those songs anymore, but I do play a few.
Yeah, do whatever you want.
You can play whatever you want to. I thought maybe play whatever song you want.
Yeah.
I thought maybe those songs were on your first album, maybe.
Oh yeah, no, they are.
were?
Yeah. I'll play this one because I still play this one every show. I still enjoy this one a whole lot. This one's kind of sometimes they don't age well, but this one has. So I'll play this one. It's called a Snake, and this actually happened the first time that I felt like I got done wrong in the music business. Obviously not the last time, but it was a learning experience. And I wrote this one about just getting rid of people that are no good for you. And yeah, it's called Snake. Guess you never know a person to go. Tearing jumbles and stuck out in the woods. You pick up your telephone. Dial the number, but there ain't no. You begin to think you did something wrong. Something crawls from the bush as you sing a lonely song. You listen closely and you hear a little whistle. Pull your shotgun trigger as you reminisce on a snake. The one you thought you knew before you met. And it takes a part of you. I know it probably took you all night, but deep down, you know that what you did was right. You kneel down and apologize to the creature did you wrong 1,000 times. Oh, the snake, the one you thought you knew, oh, it bites and takes a part of you. Oh, the snake, the one you thought you knew, oh, it bites and takes a part of you. And it takes a part of you. And it takes a part of you.
That was great.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
I have a question. Is that a Gibson guitar?
It is.
Is that a songwriter?
No, it's a hummingbird.
Oh, okay. I didn't see the pick guard.
Yeah.
It's funny because you can always tell by the. Oh yeah, there you go.
It's not really the fancy one. It's the studio edition.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's still you're still spending Gibson money, but not Gibson money.
Yeah, it's funny. You can always tell because the on the fretboard those whatever you call them on the those like what are those shapes called, trapezoids or whatever? I don't know.
I failed geometry, but they're these nice I think pearl inlays is what they call them.
Yeah.
I love them. That's honestly that's the reason I bought it, and I'm glad that I love the tone because I had no idea I had no idea what tone even really was when I bought it. But
yeah, right. No, it's great. It's a great sounding guitar.
Thank you. Yeah, she's my baby.
And also you can play it very well, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
When you started writing songs, did you like when did you first pick up a guitar?
I picked it up when I turned 18, maybe a little bit before that. My dad had an old, it's in there, but I'm not gonna get it. But there's like an old Alvarez guitar,
Yeah.
and I loved that Alvarez. And I learned quickly that I like steel strings better than the nylon strings because I like,
Mhm.
kind of strumming the heck out of the guitar. So,
Well, I was just gonna make the observation that you obviously picked up pretty quickly how to like use the guitar in conjunction with your voice. Like that's not it's hard to actually even put into words how you're supposed to do that. Like when you're trying to show somebody how to do it, you can't really point out like but you're hitting like the fills and everything in between your lines in
right.
exactly the right way. So it's really impressive that you only picked it up. Like I'm kind of mad at you, but also it's pretty good.
I mean, just a lot of that. That wasn't right off the bat that I knew that. You know what I mean? I mean,
Mhm.
I've always had a good ear, but like that doesn't mean I know how to play it the right way and play it in that conjunctive way. But it took a lot of gigs and a lot of learning the hard way.
Yeah, there's like this way of playing dynamically that you sort of figure out as you're singing songs, and you've already got it. So
And I think everybody has their own way too. The dynamic way for me to play and match my voice is not the same as
right,
somebody else.
right.
Yeah, I think you've certainly found your calling very quickly here because yeah, your songs sound great and obviously you can play the guitar very well. I mean, honestly, it's pretty amazing story. Like, you were no, I mean, I'm just trying to think back just
No,
earlier we were talking about
it really is. Like it really is. Thinking about like how quickly you've put all this together, and you've got an
Yeah,
album. Let's see, what have you got? You've got an album and the single that you put out this year, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. A lot of times I'm living in the moment
in
and
the
not
moment.
really thinking about it, but it really is. I mean, it's a blessing what all has come out of it. Honestly, pretty wild story. Not really where I never thought I'd be doing this. Growing up, it wasn't my dream by any means.
Yeah.
But
I
I
mean,
don't
what were some of your musical influences as a kid? Like, was it country music? Was it rock music? Was it mixture? Everything?
rock. I would say rock more than country.
Yeah,
I mean, my first favorite artist was Alan Jackson, so I guess you can include that. But I mean, that hasn't had any influence on me as an artist per se.
right.
It did as a kid. I mean, that was my first favorite artist. Like I said, first concert and stuff. I haven't been to just a whole lot of. I didn't really go to concerts growing up. I went to.
Well, I mean, there wasn't probably much opportunity to go to many concerts in freaking Stamford.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And I say that as a guy who was a kid in Cisco, so
Yeah,
like
Yeah,
I
no, you get it.
understand.
we were in the same boat. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, like
My first concert that I went to was actually after I went to college. I went to college in Austin, and I think the first concert that I remember going to is I went to see Tom Petty in San Antonio.
That's awesome, dude.
It was like Tom Petty, and it was the the Wallflowers opened
Oh, yeah.
opened for Tom Petty, and it was like like a sports
show
reference
right
here.
there.
It was what was it? It was like the Spurs and
I think the Spurs and Lakers were
yeah, it was
playing.
the Spurs and Lakers were playing,
Yeah.
and the Lakers had just beat the Spurs the day of the show, and they're like, and so the Wallflowers they took the stage and they're like, so really sorry to see the whatever the results of the game today, and the Spurs lost and everything. Anyway, from Los Angeles, California, we are we're the Wallflowers, and it was like,
Did people boo him?
oh, of course not.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
it was My biggest memory from the show is this drunk guy, like this drunk Mexican guy, like dancing around, drunk and whatever, and he's like screaming constantly. He's like, "This is San Antonio, the rock and roll capital of the world." And at one point, he's running from the police because they're trying to, or the security or whatever, they're trying to get him because he's dancing around in like on the part of the place that he's not supposed to. But he's just having a great time, and they're trying to get him to stop, and he's like running for a moment, throwing his hat at him and shit. It was funny.
You'll never forget that one.
No.
That sounds more like an Austin concert too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was San Antonio, but it was like the Verizon Wireless Amphitheater.
Nice.
So what was your? Sorry, I totally took over that too. What was your first real concert?
No, you're fine. I mean, it was Alan Jackson, but then that I can remember, it was the Eagles when I was 16.
Wow.
And Chris Stapleton opened, just to add on to that. And the Eagles had Vince Gill plus.
Oh, that's
Walker.
right. Yeah.
I mean, you really got four. You got three great artists, and plus the Eagles.
Right. Yeah.
It's so long. I mean, their encore was like 5 songs.
Wow.
Yeah.
They already played a long set. It was a very expensive concert. I didn't pay for it. My parents did, thankfully. But you know, you got the most out of your money that day.
Yeah.
And that was at AT&T Stadium.
Oh, nice. So, Brett, what artists have influenced your music now, or when you started playing music?
Yeah, I would say it's always changing, and I know that's kind of a cliche answer, but I guess that's a good answer. But I would say my first huge influences were Whiskey Myers, and you can probably hear a little bit of that with the constant guitar solos there in the first album. It's since, I'm not gonna say it's changed from Whiskey Myers, because there's a lot that I admire about what they do, both as, you know, Cody Cannon as a songwriter and just them as a band is what that's what I long for, to have a band that tight and close.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I want to bring more instrumentation into it, so I have a lot of influence from like the grunge era and like the MTV Unplugged sessions with Nirvana, Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam. I've been kind of digging that first Blind Melon record lately.
Mm.
I want to do some weird stuff, you know. I want to have more fiddle, and I want to have like flute in some songs. I want to get a little bit weird with it. Not, you know, it's still gonna have that sound, but I want to add a few things and get a little more creative.
Yeah, I feel like it sounds like you're trying to you're just like chasing, not just, you are exploring what your sound is going to be, really.
Yeah.
Like and there are obviously infinite options out there, like for different ways to go. I personally think the idea of genres is kind of stupid. It in the idea, like from the perspective of a creator, like talking about genres is dumb, but genres are only important because of marketing, and of course you have to have that to some, you know, you have to have that to be commercially successful,
right?
But I love it when people can do you know, can be like all over the place and do all different kinds of stuff. So I hope you can do that. I hope you can do that and be successful at the same time.
Yeah. I think just being from here, and I feel like writing kind of the songs and the themes. I try to write. I don't write anything. I try not to write stuff that's just in the way that when I'm writing a song, I'm not just trying to sound like somebody else. I'm not just trying to write a song about a specific thing because other people have written a song about a specific thing. You know, I'd rather write a great song that I mean or I'd rather not write I'd rather not write a song at all than write a song that I don't mean. totally butchered the way I explained that, but
Yeah.
We got you.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to be creative, be an artist, you know.
Do because like going back to the single Unscathed and the artwork that taught like that shows like this futuristic depiction of you, presumably that's you, like beat up against the wall in 2028.
Yep.
There's obviously some like there's obviously a an aspect of it that's like it's true, but it's not necessarily like historical.
Yeah.
like it's a story that fits with who you are, but not necessarily a story that is an autobiographical thing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's like it's funny because that is a distinction that I failed to recognize until the second half of my 30s, that I really started recognizing that as a songwriter, that the things that I wrote didn't have to necessarily be autobiographical. But that definitely opens up a whole, world of themes that you can explore when you're writing in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really like that song because it's in the future too,
Right.
Weird perspective. A lot of times you're writing in the present tense or past tense.
Right.
It was a little weird, a little out of my comfort zone writing in the future tense for lack of better, and it kind of opened my mind to what I can do as a storyteller and songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also doing storytelling. I don't have to be like a Guy Clark or a John to be a good storyteller. There are different forms that takes.
Yeah, we talk about storytelling, like story songs or whatever, but rarely is a story song that I think of as a story song like it's not exactly like a linear timeline of events. It's like a picture that you're painting for someone, and it tells a story about this person or whatever, but it's not it's not like a narrative story necessarily.
No. And I like to focus so much on one aspect of something that I don't really have the time and the means to want to write this long story with little details going in a linear pattern.
Right.
I'd rather focus on what that specific thing is that's going on in the
like there are story songs like I don't know, the road goes on forever. That song is a freaking story song, and it tells a story from like start to finish. But there aren't many songs really in my mind that fit in that category that I like. I think of a lot of story songs that aren't exactly in that same category.
Yeah, I've tried to write a few too, especially when I first started, but
it's hard.
Let them relish. I'm just not very. That's not my thing right now.
Yeah, it's hard, and it's it really feels like if you're trying to write that, it feels like it limits like what you can actually do with the words.
Certainly,
like something that really resonates with you, like a line or something, may not necessarily fit in that linear pattern of how you're telling that story. It may just be another way to describe this character in your story or whatever. But
yeah, exactly. And like I said earlier, if I'm trying to write something specific like that, it's probably not going to come out great. At least not
right.
Listen to it again,
Right.
It's almost like it's this weird thing where I feel like what works for me is like when I'm not really trying. I'm just kind of just let it flow.
Yeah.
If I just get in there and say, let's freaking do this,
Go.
Oh, tagline.
Thanks for the plug. Yeah, we appreciate it.
It's the part of the movie where they say the title of the movie.
Yeah.
There you go.
Nice.
Hey, Brett, would you be interested in playing Unscathed?
Sure. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah. I've been a long time running. It's been a long time coming since I've been home. I made a trip up north, got married and divorced. Those chains I broke, it's alright now. I had to learn somehow. It's really funny to think about the amount of times that I told those lies. But I won't take away somehow we're unscathed. Those Saturdays been almost 6 years now since I stepped in this little town. I can't say much has changed. All my close friends lived here then, said we'd all move back again. Maybe we'll get that arranged. It's alright now. I had to learn somehow. It's really funny to think about the times that I told those lies. But I won't stay away somehow unscathed. Those Saturdays, those Saturdays. Summer rain falls. These problems feel so small. It's 'cause I walked away. Somehow I'm unscathed. Those Saturdays, those Saturdays. I've been a long time running. It's been a long time coming since I've been home.
That's a great song.
Thank you, man.
That's definitely a good one. Yeah, thanks
Thank
for
you.
playing that.
You bet. I always feel that one, I mean, I meant it when I wrote it. So
you did that one with Ethan and 601 guys. Did you record that like at Ethan's place, or y'all go to a studio to do that?
yeah, that was at Ethan's place. Yeah, so that
Okay.
was the cheapest song I've ever recorded, and the cover art costed more than the song.
Well, it sounds great. I mean,
Yeah,
Ethan and I have had a couple of conversations about this, and I know that he's really big on trying to capture the actual, like the soul of the song and the actual like the raw, origin of the song. I think is kind of what he wants. Like he's not trying to what's the word? Like he's not trying to
commercialize it.
yeah, he's not trying to gussy it up. He's not trying to paint it up and make it like embellish it and make it like more polished and all like super polished and crisp sounding for like you know what I'm saying, like
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
like he and I definitely had a conversation about drums and the drum, like the sound of drums that drives me nuts. I think is a very similar sound of drums that drives him nuts. So yeah,
No, he's doing it for the right reasons as a producer. It's
yeah.
for good artists, like not only good songs but good artists too. I see someone there in the back, Jason.
Yeah, it's my son.
Nice.
Go on, buddy.
I just saw eyes. I was like, "Am I seeing something back there?" But yeah, no, Ethan's in it for the right reasons. I respect him a lot as a producer, and I'm not gonna lie, I was very pleasantly surprised with the product of a home recording, and I think I'm kind of bought into good home recording now because
Yeah, man.
what better place can you get your vibe on? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I'm 1,000% sold on that. I mean, it's hard. I don't. I mean, Ethan's gonna also say, I don't think he's recording drums at his place. I think he's getting drums recorded. Like drums are a different thing altogether. But yeah, I'm like 1,000% sold on the idea that like the best place for an artist to actually be able to feel comfortable, like you said, and get the performance that they're looking for. It's gonna be like in your house or somebody else's house where you're just chill, like you're just hanging out and doing it. Because I do the same thing. Like I'll record stuff at my house, and I've gone and recorded at studios. It's always more stressful. It always takes more time. And I've had some successes going in studios and doing it, but I've had more successes doing shit at home and talking to people on the phone or Zoom calls and figuring out exactly what they want to do. And then just me doing this shit here until I get it down to the way, performance wise, that I think is the best way. And I'm not having to waste anybody else's time. Like I'm not having to waste an engineer's time doing all that shit. I'm not having to waste studio time and keep other people from being in that studio. Yeah. I'm glad that you had that good experience there. Cause I think it's honestly very much like the future for how we do this shit.
Oh, it is. And I can't afford to go to the studio for every song I have.
Yeah.
I did when I had graduation
Oh,
money. Looking back, that was how I recorded an album, is from graduation money.
My God. I'll tell you something. I happen to have insider's knowledge that like most of Bowling for Soup's albums get recorded in Jarrett's home studio.
That's good. And why not? You know what I mean?
Right.
Another thing is, if you don't like the quality of the recording, go get it mixed or mastered somewhere else.
That's right. The mixing and the mastering part of it is I think that's where the magic kind of gets inserted into it anyway. Clearly there's a lot to be said for the engineering part of it, the recording part of it. But the mixing part, like you can add so much to, like, as long as you've got a clean, good recording and you put it in the hands of somebody who knows what they're doing in the mixing, they can turn that into an album that sounds like it was done in a studio. Sounds like,
Certainly. And it's all, you have to put a little money into it, but it's all at our fingertips,
Right.
It's a good time for independent artists, I think.
Yeah. But like you said, most of us don't have the money to go spend $12,000 on an album.
I was talking to a friend about he's thinking about taking out a loan and going and recording somewhere very professional and trying to get A1 product. But he's like, yeah, everybody you'll take out a $10,000 loan for a car. You'll get a loan for the house, for the mortgage. You'll get a loan for all this stuff. But for some reason, it's not socially acceptable to go get a loan to record an album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but it's that kind of investment, though. It's definitely that level of investment at this point.
Yeah.
And also, there's the expectation, and I don't know if this has always been really the kind of thing, but like there's this expectation that you're going to release things on a cycle, and these days everybody needs to put something out. Honestly, you got to have something new to put out. First of all, you've got to have something fresh all the time when it comes to social media.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have something out there all the time. But in terms of actual new songs, like you're kind of expected to have something every few months, like something comes out, and it's otherwise you just kind of fall off the radar.
Yeah.
So that's my perspective of it. I mean, I'm
from that outsider's point of view, and even I find myself thinking the same thing about artists. Like, oh, he hasn't released anything in over a year.
Right.
Is he giving up?
Like I remember reading somewhere it was it was like a 2-year cycle or something for albums. But my God, if you think about the people that you really like to listen to and the people you follow or whatever, and imagine if those people weren't putting anything out, if they hadn't put anything out for 2 years, like it would feel like, are they retired? Like what's going on? Like have they quit music?
Yep.
Well, I think that 2-year cycle, that's probably a dated thing, like because back in the day, movies were in the movie theaters for months and months, sometimes up to a year, and then like the first Batman movie, it wasn't available on VHS for like a year and a half, and then the VHS was like $50. So like, I mean, the world now is just so much faster and everything changes, and and you're right, you'll have to have something. You have to feel like you're promoting something all the time or bringing out something new.
Yeah.
Which leads me to my next question, Brett. So you released Unscathed in July. What's your plan for the future as far as for new music, album? Like, do you have
released that in July? Are you retired yet? Like,
right.
I mean, what's going on?
Because we're October.
I'm like, what am I doing? What are people gonna think about me?
Right.
I'm done now. Thank God for
released. This guy hasn't released a new song in like 6 minutes. What in the hell?
That's the Zach Bryan and the Marvel theory.
Oh my God.
But
Zach Bryan is the Marvel of Americana music. 36 songs. Holy crap.
36 songs in 3.6 days, you know what I mean? But so it's just hard for me to. So I'll go ahead and start. I have a full band single that we recorded at Crystal Clear Studios in Dallas. It's called Hold the Weight. It's kind of got a alternative rock sound. I dig it. I think it's pretty dope. I mean, I'm sure one day I'll get tired of it, but right now I like it. And so that just kind of waiting for the final masters for that. And then going to be getting the cover art soon. So that should be pretty dope. I'm not going to tell y'all what it is yet. I'll let that be a surprise. But it'll fit with the song.
I mean, from what you put out so far, it's going to be awesome, I'm sure.
Yeah, it'll fit, and because if it's not going to fit, it's not going to work,
Yeah.
But, but then I'm kind of thinking a home recorded acoustic EP after that. Maybe another acoustic single leading into that EP.
I like that. Almost like putting yourself into a pattern of because like you said, like we were just talking about, like it costs a shitload of money to go out and record in an actual studio, but if you can get into a pattern of like you do those kinds of things, those are your like bookmarks, and then you put the more like the groupings of songs, the EPs or whatever in between that you kind of are stripped down and easier to put out as a home type thing. I like that idea. I feel like that's a solid plan that I kind of planned that I was going to do as well.
Yeah. Copycat. No, I'm just kidding. But
yeah, I mean, it's like a financial necessity kind of in a way.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah, it's like I'm thinking about my bank account right now. I cannot get in a professional studio and go cut,
Right.
A single,
Right.
much less an EP right now. So I don't know. I'm getting sold into that whole home recording thing anyway, and I'm kind of wanting to go a different route a slightly different route with my sound, and just kind of go the stripped route. Like I said, I kind of want to have fiddle and flute and get a little blind melonish, and I don't know, because I don't think that's the expectation right now. I think the expectation is to have a 5-piece rock band, which I love, but
Right.
I feel like I did that already with my first album, and I'm kind of ready to try something new. It's like you get the potato, bacon, and cheese burrito for years, and you love it, but you want to try something different. You want to try the beans and bacon next time, or you want to try the, potato, egg, and cheese or something.
Yeah. That's because you're a creator. You have that spirit of creativity and art, kind of the artist's perspective is you want to make something different. You don't want to do something the same way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like it. I there's certain recordings that I've really appreciated over the last whatever year or two that are very stripped down, that can be very well done, can come out sounding, spectacular, but there's not much to them. It's like you said, like a fiddle, a guitar, a banjo. I always like point back to Jordan Nix had this EP called Cold and Lonely, which is not available anymore. And I'm mad at him for it, but it was just
a good one.
Yeah, it was great, and it was like 4 songs, and it was just guitar and vocals and banjo and fiddle, and he had a duet on there at one point as well. But man, that was just like captivating. Like I could just listen to that shit over and over and over again, and I love it.
Yeah, dude.
I love that sound.
Yeah, me too. Me too. It's real. It's always going to be real. It's timeless. It's a timeless sound too. Have you ever listened to? Have y'all heard of Josh Malloy?
Only recently, I've seen you guys posting stuff about his. I guess he has a new album.
Yeah, new. I think it's just a 4-song EP, but
Okay,
it's got like a really good strip sound that just sounds like you're in the room with him.
Yeah, that's great.
There's some playing and little acoustic pickings and stuff.
I keep seeing it. I got to check it out. I
think you'd love it.
But like you mentioned Zach Bryan earlier.
Yeah,
that dude made himself famous, like getting sweaty and red faced, recording YouTube videos and like next to a fire in his back porch or whatever. Like that's how he sort of made his thing. And then if you look after that, like all of his recordings sound, they're very acoustic sounding, like very raw sounding.
They're earthy.
Same thing with like hell, even Tyler Childress we were talking about, Justin and I were talking about earlier. Like that's how these guys are getting famous. And like, why would you move away from that, like that formula if you like it and it works? Like,
right. Yeah, 100%. I mean, all those songs, they not gonna lie, they start getting old when they have this kind of like annoying cult fan base. But kudos to them. I respect them for it. I'm happy for them. But like the reason that I ever got into those songs and started loving those artists is because I believed that they believed what they were trying to say, you know.
Right.
And when you overshadow that with too much production, that's not always the move.
Yeah, the production, when the production takes over the center stage, and you lose the songwriting, you lose the lyrics, you lose all the things that make the songs great in the first place, and like then it's just like, I don't know, like sorcery or something, where you're just looking at all the, like it's like the damn Wizard of Oz or whatever. Like it's like you lose sight of the actual substance of what makes the song great.
Yeah. It becomes a product instead of a piece of art, you know.
Yep.
And all that, for me to recognize all that, took a lot of just learning and listening, you know.
But accelerated learning, though, very quickly.
right.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about the last 2 years.
Right. Like you talk about your old album, like it's like about a year old, so it's not that old, but
That's true.
right, you're kind of moving at light speed here through life.
He's like, back when I was younger,
Right.
like a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is wild. It is wild. I just think about, I don't know, just when I'm like into it almost every day and conscious and thinking about it every day for 2 years.
Yeah.
I guess that sped up that process.
Yeah.
And so that's something I can thank that COVID time for, you know?
Yeah. It both felt like a long time, but you know, you learned a lot in that time, and you know, like a day was still a day, but for you, maybe it was moving a little bit quicker, or maybe it's moving a little bit slower, but you got the most out of it. So
yeah,
it's very impressive. Brett, before we get out of here, would you like to play another song for us?
Yeah, sure. I'll play. Let's see, which one do I want to play? I'll play this one. This one's called "Shelter Me." I'm gonna get a drink of water first. I haven't written in a few weeks, but this is my most recently written song.
This is an unreleased song?
It is, yes.
Very cool.
I'm homeless. I'm a man without a job. Won't you give me purpose? Can you show me how to stop this dying? 'Cause it ain't alright with me. I'm tired of this lying on the cold, dead, empty street. Help me make it through. Tell me what to do. I listen. I do just what you'd say, and you'd stick around, and that you would stay. Hear me begging on my knees. So tell me what to do for you to shelter me, shelter me. Be patient, take a pill or two. You're the only medication I prescribe myself to. Not over, dose on your advice. If I could lean down on your shoulder, if I could have you in my life, help me make it through. Tell me what to do. Now listen, I do just what you'd say, and you'd stick around, and that you would stay. on my knees. So tell me what to do for you to shelter me, you to shelter me. Help me make it through. Tell me what to do. And I listen. I do just what you'd say. If it meant you'd stick around, if it meant that you would stay. Hear me begging on my knees. So tell me what to do for you to shelter me, you to shelter me. Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, that's
Thank
a really
you.
good song. That's a really good song.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's the most recently written one. I really liked that. I really liked that last verse. About medication and overdosing, you know.
Mm-hmm. So all
Kind
you need is a fireplace and a back porch, like a fire pit and a back porch and a phone camera, and then you can be the next Zach Bryan. I'm just kidding.
That's it. I'll be
No,
the next level of Americana.
Yeah, there you go. That's a great song.
Thank you. Might need some fiddle on it.
Ah, well, I know a guy.
Yeah, I think I know a guy too.
Well, Brett, where are you? Do you have any upcoming shows you want to promote?
Yeah, sure. I've got a couple this weekend. I'm playing in Blackwell, Texas. If y'all know where that is, on Friday.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yep. Middle of nowhere, good little town though. Place called the Blue Agave. It's at 7:30 on Friday, and then 8 o'clock on Saturday. I'll be playing in Anson at Little Lee's Smoke Shack.
Okay.
Grand opening over there. So.
Definitely heard of Anson.
Oh yeah, big city. They think they're cool because they're 3A every now and then, just like y'all.
Are they 3? Well, we're not 3A. Cisco's not 3A. Cisco's 2A, right?
They're
Are they
2A now. They go up every now and then.
Yeah, they changed it.
Did they?
Don't they have 6A in high school now?
Yeah. So yeah, they do. So now
Right.
6-man is 1A. So
Right.
I mean, it's really comparing 1A to 2A.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, it goes all the way to 6 now because it used to be
Yeah.
just 5.
Yeah, they
Right.
expanded it when I was still working at the Chronicle and doing high school sports. It's been 7 or 8 years. I think that's when I did that. So it's been around for a little while.
I was still in high school then, Justin.
Yeah, sure you are.
My dream job, is still to be the broadcaster for the Texas Rangers. I mean, I almost went the kind of the sports journalism route, but then I could have done it, but I just got tired of going to school.
Justin may have some experience in that. He could.
Yeah, I think you picked the right route. The right route. Like, I mean, you're playing music, having fun, like being creative. Like, sports are great, but when you make sports your job, it's not always as great. So I would say stick to the guitar and singing because
which is funny because you'll hear that in every field, right?
Yeah.
Like you'll hear that from musicians who'll be like, this is just my job. I don't want to go on the road. I want to stay home. I want to see my family. I want to do all these things, but It's my
I
job.
feel
This
that.
pays the bills. I don't know.
Some weeks I'm on board with that. Some weeks I'm like, man, I wish I was in a band van right now, traveling to some random
Right.
town or state or something.
Yeah. Well, I say, like, whatever your passion is, pursue that. But, like, for example, what you're doing, like, your name is on it, right? It's Brett Patterson. It's your band. It's your songs. It's your sound, and
Absolutely.
nothing. No one will take that away from you. Where if you work for a team or a newspaper or a website or whatever, that can go away because
That's
they're
true.
going to keep rolling, and they may not need me or you or whoever, but like with yours, it's like you've created your own job. So I think that's pretty cool.
That is
That's a good way to
very
think about
good. Yeah, that is a
Yep.
very good perspective, Justin, because
Yep.
you are absolutely right. Because whatever bullshit company that you work for, they can decide tomorrow that they don't need you anymore, and they'll continue, and you'll be left on the wayside, and you'll be homeless, like your song,
Like the song, yeah,
like the song, yeah. But but if you can establish yourself and make it financially sustainable to do what you're doing right now, 1,000%, this is the right path.
Yeah, I'm actually a youth pastor, and I help with worship in Stamford. So that's my I love doing that too. I'm passionate about that too. I'm never gonna quit doing this. I don't really want to quit doing that either. But I love that that's able to financially sustain me so that I can get to be a true artist again. When I was just doing music full time, it was a job, especially last summer. Last summer I was either gonna, I don't want to say quit, but I had lost my passion for it. And I'm working at the church and doing something I love and making money. I get to be a true artist again. That's the most important thing. The money, how you make your money, I think is less important than whether or not you're a true artist,
Yeah.
And not that I have to tell you this, but the Texas Rangers have 81 home games, right? A year. Learn the national anthem. You might get a chance to play it in one of their games.
There you go.
I'm being serious. Like,
no, for real.
That
it's
could
the most nerve-wracking song.
Right?
If you make one mistake,
Yeah,
if you miss
that's
one
true.
lyric,
you go viral.
You are
that-
Osama at that point.
Going viral, that might be good for you because then people are like, oh, who's this Brett Patterson person? And then like they look you up and they're like, oh, he's got all these songs. And
yeah, maybe I'd get so if you sing the national anthem, I imagine you get a free ticket.
Oh yeah, no, you do. I work at a community college here in Houston, and I've actually helped a couple people get to sing at the Astros games, and we get to go on the field, and it's a whole cool deal before the game. And you might get a signed baseball from somebody.
Yeah, I'd love to do that too.
Yep.
But you're not going to catch me wearing an Astros jersey.
I understand. There's,
Justin's trying to make you sell your soul right
No,
now.
I'm not saying for the Astros.
No, I know.
Love your team. That's cool. Like, the Lone Star, the silver boot is the most sacred trophy in all of sports. And right now the Astros have it over the Rangers. That's totally a joke, Jason, that went over your head. But,
sorry.
It's kind of a joke trophy, but it looks cool. I mean, I've seen it in person. It's a cool little trophy, but
I
take
it seriously.
Yeah, no, I know, I got you, but
no, it's a joke though. It's fun.
A sports ball joke.
It's cool to have, if you support your team through thick and thin, and that's awesome. But I think
I've been an Astros fan before.
Oh yeah, there was before they currently the Astros are rolling along, but before that they were getting rolled a lot. I mean, they were, some of that was by design. They weren't, necessarily trying to win, which is now a part of professional sports, which for me and Jason, when we were growing up, that really was, tanking wasn't a thing. And now it's a thing in sports.
Yeah.
And in some ways it makes sense, but for the everyday fan, it's not the best when your team is trying to lose for draft purposes or to save money or that might be great for them,
Yeah.
but for the fan, it's not great for the fan. Now, with your team, the Rangers, they do spend money. Like, it's not like they don't spend money. So, like, they're trying. It's not working just yet, but no, I mean, it's serious. Like, it's like it's a cycle, honestly. Like,
No, it's a cycle.
when the Rangers were really good, like when they went to the World Series 2 years in a row, the Astros were terrible, and now the roles have reversed, and eventually they'll come to the middle, and maybe it'll be a more competitive thing. But anyway,
that's just how it's like the stock market. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's gonna go up and down. It's the roller coaster of life.
We don't have the type of programs, if you will, to be like the Yankees, who are consistently above 85. Their bad seasons are 85 wins.
Right.
That I don't think that can be either of our teams. It's kind of either 90 to 100 wins or 60 to 70.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Which is
so,
which is fine.
but my message to you is keep playing your music, and you might get to work with the Rangers in another way. Like in your way.
Yeah.
Seriously, that's the coolest thing. Like, and hell, write a song about the Rangers.
Yeah.
That could be something that could, also could be a viral thing, and pitch it to the local radio stations, and who knows?
Absolutely.
Like, you might write the Rangers theme. Like,
that's what I'm thinking about. I mean, I'm thinking if it could, maybe I'll write the song that when the Rangers win, they play it right after.
That'd be great. Yeah.
For the game or something.
Yeah, I think here in Houston, I think Clay Walker, he's a country artist. I know he has a song for the Texans. I think he has a song they play at the Astros games sometimes also. But he's like kind of made his name here as he's the Texans guy. Like, they play his song during the game. So that could be with the Rangers or the Cowboys or, Stars or the Mavericks. I mean, a lot of teams in there. Yeah. So Brett, it was great having you on. Tell us how people can find you on social media and where they can find your music.
Yeah. On social media for Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, just look up Brett Patterson Music. For Twitter, look up Brett P Music. And if you look up Brett Patterson Music on Twitter, I think you'll find it on there too. But then on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, all that junk, just look up Brett Patterson. And just look for the cool album art. You should find me.
There you go. Very cool. Jason, do you have any closing thoughts?
It was great to have a fellow small town Texas songwriter on the show. Thanks for coming on, Brett. And
cool to be on with some big country folks. I didn't know we had that in common.
Yeah, we kind of had like almost like a little small town reunion here or something, even though we never actually.
That's how it is here too. I mean, we're kind of proud of it deep down, even if there's a part of your heart that's proud of the big country.
Right.
Proud to be from there at least.
Yeah. No.
Go ahead, Jason.
Oh, I was just gonna say I loved having Brett on. I think the songs are great. I think he's got a big future ahead of him.
Thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate having Brett on, and so thanks to him, and thanks to everyone who's watching right now, whether you're watching us live now on YouTube or watching us later. If you're doing that, do us a favor, like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It really helps us out. We really appreciate it. Also, we're available on podcast platforms like Anchor and Spotify. So check us out there. Give us a listen to the Brett episode, and rate and review the episode. That always helps us. So we really appreciate it. So once again, for Brett and for Jason, this is Justin saying we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Have a good night. Bye-bye.